Yo, I am Root, aka the Culture Black Kid, and this is Room Friends, where we review the latest releases from the Australian and New Zealand scene. Today we are going to review the latest Shadow EP. He is a South African Australian hip hop artist from Bolu, Perth. This is his third project, first one in what I believe is 2 years. And like I said, this is Ruin Friends, so I had to bring along a friend. Please introduce yourself and what you do.
Howdy, everyone. My name is Henry Owens. I'm a music writer based in Melbourne, originally from Adelaide, though, the great city of Adelaide. And I write primarily for Acclaim magazine, but I've written for Junkie, Vice, and Complex Australia, and a few other places as well.
Nice, nice. Absolute pleasure to have you on this review of the Shadow EP. Um, Please, in one or two sentences, give your initial thoughts or your overall thoughts on Lavish.
So Lavish is kind of Shadow doing what Shadow does, which is getting better with every project or song that he drops.
Mhm.
I think he's rapping better here. He's writing songs better here. I think the beat selection's better here.
Mm.
But as someone who has kind of followed Shadow over the years, I feel like this is only a smidgen of what he's truly capable of.
I think you hit the nail on the head. I think that this is definitely Shadow's best work across the board, lyrically, production wise. Um, it's just more catchy and more interesting. I feel like I'm more willing to come back to these songs in comparison to stuff from I think it's Blackout. I think that was his last project. Um, but I feel like there's still a lot more to be ventured into in the Shadow world, the Shadow Cinematic Universe, if you will, if you will.
100%. Like, he's been around for a long time now, well, like since 2018 or so. And for a long time, it feels like he's been rapping to kind of prove himself and prove how good he is.
Mhm.
And I feel like he's proven many times, whether it's Blackout or releases before, that he's like a very good rapper. He might be one of the best in the country in terms of like technical proficiency, but he's still kind of rapping like he's trying to prove himself here, but he has proved himself. I kind of want to learn more about like Shadow the guy and where this is going to continue forward and just kind of more insight and wisdom into a guy that's been around for half a decade.
For sure, for sure, and I feel like we'll definitely get into that at one point in this review. But to kick us off, let's start with some pros. Let's really highlight what we enjoyed about this project and maybe some songs that back that up. So Henry, please let us know what were some pros that you enjoyed about this.
Man, so like as I said just then, like Shadow is an incredibly technically proficient rapper. The way he can adapt to kind of any beat at this point, I believe. I don't think there's a beat he couldn't rap on. What's really impressive about Lavish is that he makes it kind of sound effortless now. Like it sounds like he is just kind of doing these flow switches and this kind of like motivated kind of cadence in his voice. He can do that in his sleep at this point. Like it's easy to him,
Yeah,
which is kind of mind-boggling because it's such a hard thing to do.
yeah.
And I think especially another pro in this project is just how colorful the production is. I think it's by far the most versatile production he's ever rapped on. And he just does it with ease. Like at this point, I don't believe there's anything he couldn't do.
Mhm. No, I agree, and I feel like the start of me, because I feel like I haven't been following Shadow probably as long as you have, but still, I've definitely, for a few years, um, and since I think there was a song he featured on El Nino, the Marley Jose mixtape that he put up on SoundCloud, where I'm like, ooh, interesting, Shadow over this type of production, that's kind of cool. So it's like, which obviously, I'm sure he's done it. He's probably like he'd watch this and be like, "Yeah, of course I can go over that type of production." It's just I've never heard that. So, um, yeah, I do agree that he's definitely shown a a fresh taste of way again approach to instrumentation as well as beat choices. I do think um hanging around also camps like Marley Jose's camp has really helped with that a bit. And yeah, yeah, I agree. I agree. I think the way he approaches each song is, you know, again, he doesn't let up. Super hard, super catchy. Like, you know, say like "What's up" is instant catch. Don't forget. I'll be walking around as soon as I hear it. A grade, like they're songs that will are earworms. They'll get stuck in your head, like straight away. And like you said at the top, Shadow's doing what he does best, and the way he approaches, you know, his vibe and the texture or the timbre that he approaches each song, his voice, like it's recognizable. Like he has such a recognizable voice at this point. Um, but yeah, is there any songs that stand out to you in the pros that you're like, yeah, that's definitely a one of the ones.
Definitely. So I think the first two, Interlude and A Grade, are instant highlights for me. I think they really set the tone for how this is kind of like Shadow in the midst of evolving as an artist.
Mm,
Like, not only is this production kind of different from what we've heard him on in the
mm,
past, he's kind of sounded comfortable in chaos. Like, you had the heavy 808s, you had, those kind of eerie synths that you'll get from like grime and drill and stuff. Here he sounds sounds comfortable in color and vibrance. Like J Orient production on Interlude is, crazy as Orient production typically is, the sample chops, the bouncy drums, and then you've got Nerve production on A Grade, which again, Nerve is kind of like an expert at mixing this kind of vibrant atmosphere with these hard hitting drums, and Shadow sounds right at home. And I think like these songs are also good indicators of where he is evolving as a songwriter, where he is kind of letting more of himself in. He talks about, going through depression and learning lessons from life on Interlude, and then he's talking on A Grade about kind of, not being the same person since COVID and upgrading as an artist. And these are kind of like inklings of an evolution that's coming in his career. And I think What's Up is another really good example of how he's evolved as a songwriter. Because if I go back to like Blackout and I listen to the title track or a song like Trends,
yeah.
it sounds like he's nearly there in terms of being like a really good like songwriter, like translating good raps into just good songs.
Mhm.
But it felt like it was just there. Here it sounds like it's more than surpassed being there. It's
Mhm.
fire, and it sounds effortless.
Yeah.
Like on like Trends, he's doing this kind of melodic thing, which does work. It sounds good. But
Mhm.
here it's kind of like he's teetering on a melodic thing in his voice,
Yeah.
not quite there. It's just kind of almost sounds stream of consciousness, like the kind of laid back kind of chill kick back
Mhm.
atmosphere of that song is something he was experiencing in the studio. And that is like reminiscent of like listening to a Isaiah Rashad song for me, like RIP Young or like Headshots, where on the surface it's a very laid back kind of hazy song, but it has this kind of impact that makes it stuck in your head for weeks.
Yeah. No, 100%, 100%. And yeah, going off the back of that, like again, don't forget has like that Latin sample, what's up that you just talked about. It's like a lot more laid back, like Isaiah Rashad-esque, and um, again, just is a nice difference. Even Stuck in My Ways, it's very a lot more reflective, and it's like, oh, okay. But I guess that kind of transitions for me into maybe some cons. So before maybe I say something, um, do you have anything that you were like, unfortunately, that wasn't my favorite thing. I wish you kind of maybe did this, or being a little nitpicky, or yeah.
Yeah, so my critiques regarding this EP, it's almost hard to call them a critiques in a way because I think musically he's very tight and on point. I just kind of want more from him because I think he's capable of more, in a sense, if that makes any sense. Like
Yeah.
the first two songs, Interlude and A Grade, they kind of set this tone, this like he sounds hungry, he sounds motivated. This is Shadow 2.0, he's upgraded.
Mhm.
But we never really get any more context as to what are the trials and tribulations he's gone through that kind of led to those upgrades, to the lessons he's learned in life. How did he get over the depression? And that's something I love about rap music, is this kind of like open book honesty we hear so many of the greats have, like Jay-Z, Kendrick. So many of them are so open and introspective, and even like Australian legends like Cursor and Barrow, who have this kind of legendary legacy, are open books with the fans, and I think that kind of creates a stronger connection and makes the music more timeless. And I
Mhm,
think that's like literally the last thing that Shadow is missing as a fully realized artist.
mhm.
And in terms of like direct songs, man, I think after A grade, like, Busy and Don't Forget, I think they're great songs, but I feel like I was kind of expecting the progression and learning more about him from the tone that those first two songs set. And then we just go into very good Shadow songs, which is awesome.
Yeah.
It's great. But I was like really looking forward to learning more about him.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree. And for me, that's stuck in my ways. Like, I'm like, okay, I'll if the first six songs are just, I'm hungry, I'm, doing what I do, and then Stuck in My Ways comes in and it's very like it seems like a very reflective last track. Okay. And he has a bar in there where it's like ice cold, like Mr. Freeze. And I'm like, I like that. Let's stick on that. But then he kind of continues, talking a little bit more shit and whatnot. And I'm like, oh, I wish we stuck on that. Why is your heart cold like Mr. Freeze? Why
Yeah.
why do you um why do you feel like you're stuck in your ways, or et cetera, et cetera? I just wish for just a little bit more vulnerability, not enough that's pulling him out of who Shadow is as a person, because obviously, like we've mentioned numerous times as review, that he is very good at what he does. But I'm like you mentioned Cursor. I just reviewed Complete not long ago, and Complete's really good at that as well, where it's like, yo, you got the bangers, but when he gets vulnerable, he is bearing his soul. And it's like, oh, I just want to know a little bit more about this lore that makes Shadow a little bit more, because he doesn't
Yeah.
do many interviews and like article placements or anything like that. So I'm like, yeah, if the music is what we got, then like I want to learn.
Yeah, like Stuck in My Ways feels like a closer to an EP that almost didn't exist in the middle of this project for me.
Mhm.
Like the first two songs are like a really cool setting the tone for like I'm hungry, I'm going to go into my shit. This is me upgrading. This is me getting better. This is me overcoming the depression.
Mhm.
This is me becoming a different person since COVID. But then we don't get that in the next
Yeah.
three or four songs. And
Mhm.
then Stuck in My Ways comes and I'm like, this kind of feels random considering what you just gave me on songs like the title track, which is just chaotic Shadow, which is it feels like fan service to me because there's a lot of people out there that love that type of Shadow, but it
Yeah.
feels incredibly out of place on this EP for me. And I just want to see him kind of hone in on his storytelling skills more, opposed to teetering the line between these kind of flex heavy frenzies
Mhm.
and this in depth kind of revealing storytelling.
Yeah. No, for sure. For sure. And yeah, I mean, obviously there's room to maybe get it on the next EP, but like I mentioned at the top, this is his third. He's been in the game for half a decade, just over half a decade, so it's like not expecting you to be like, all right, here's your 444 already, but
Yeah.
it's like, give us a smidge and then go from there. But that's all right.
As a mus
Yeah.
as a musician yourself, is kind of being an open book and honest within the craft that you create something that you've struggled with? Is there a part of you that wants to kind of separate the trials and tribulations of real life from, I guess, the joy and dedication to making music?
Um, I I think talking about the trials and tribulations is what makes the music. But that's just me, because I know a lot of artists. Not a lot of artists. There are some artists out there who's like, nah, I just write the music because I want to have fun. I think I interviewed Malalo a few months ago, and she was like, I asked a question on my podcast where I'm like, what percentage of yourself have you put in your music so far? And she was like, 1%. Like I don't like talking about personal stuff. Like I just want to make songs that can people can turn up to. So
Yeah.
um but for me, as someone who's a fan of a Kendrick or a J. Cole, or again, keeping it more local, I absolutely love the Kobe D EP, and how personal and genuine he sounds on that. Um, so I'm someone who's like, yeah, there's a time and a place for absolutely fun songs, but if I'm looking at the Shadow EP, like from the artwork, even still, even if it's spread with a lot of graffiti and whatnot, but dead in the center is him as a kid. And it's like when you see one of those artworks that has an artist as a kid, it's like I'm like, okay, cool. Let's delve in. You're showing a personal side of you. It's not just you in in a bomber jacket like the previous artwork, and it's very hazy and you know mysterious. This is seems a lot more personal. So I'm like, maybe the hopefully the art can reflect it. And it's not like I'm disappointed or I'm upset that it's not. I'm like, because again, it's a great project, but I'm just like, oh, the fan of the fan of Shadow that I am, I'm like, I want to learn about you. So
Yeah.
and so in short, hopefully I answered your question.
Yes.
But I think it's a time and a place. But me as a fan of artists, I always love to learn about them. I know that different artists approach their art differently, but I feel like Shadow has a capability, so I'd like to hear it pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of my favorite Australian rap songs, probably ever at this point, even though it's like a pretty recent one, is a Goobsy song called They Won Freestyle,
Mhm.
where it's just him in the outskirts of the Adelaide suburbs, standing in front of this wetlands area with a giant train bridge.
Mhm.
And he's just rapping kind of like how Shadow's rapping here. It's hungry, it's motivated, it feels like he's found a new form of himself. But he's kind of delving into how he found that. He's
Mhm.
delving into like why he is this new person, the steps he took to become this new person.
Yeah.
And it's like a very powerful song to me.
Mhm.
And here Shadow is rapping like that, but the content is not reflecting the way he's rapping. So
Yeah.
clearly he has gone through this life transformation. Just maybe even selfishly as a music fan, I want to hear that.
Yeah.
Maybe it's something he doesn't want to share, which is fine
Yeah.
as well.
Of course.
Because if he keeps doing this, it's still great music.
Yeah.
But
100%.
like I think it's not a step, and it's not an improvement he has to make the music good. It's a improvement he should make to be considered one of the best, in my
Mm.
opinion.
Yeah. I agree. I agree. Which he's already so highly regarded in the scene as well, but it's one of those like you're up here, but this like just talking about a little bit more of what's happening in your life could, especially the if you do it at the skill that we know you can do it, can take you even higher. So, but like you said, whether or not that's Shadow wants to do that is totally up to him. And regardless, I'm sure it's going to be a quality project. Either way, it's just like you said, selfishly as a fan, it's like, yeah, I
Yeah.
want to learn about you. Um, just as two more nitpicky, very nitpicky things for me. Okay, the first one's slightly less nitpicky. On A grade, I don't think the intro should have been that long. I think I kind of got taken out of it after a while. I'm like, okay, can we get into the song? Sorry, but that's me personally. And then my actual nitpicky one, even though I know it's a bar that he always uses, but I think he said run the ball line like 4 songs in a row. And I'm like, as a rapper myself, I'm like, God. But like I said, that's super nitpicky. Like, I know that that's something that he loves to add in his music. So that's just me.
Hey, how can you reach your goals if you don't run the ball? Am I
Hey,
right?
that's facts. That's facts. Like,
Soccer.
yeah. So,
Beckham.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But yeah, apart from that, I don't really have many other cons. Like again, this is a really solid project and I really enjoyed it. Um, so let's get into our final rating of this. So just to remind yourself and anyone out there who's unsure, my rating system is you are either here for this. It depends on the day whether you are here for this or not, or unfortunately you are not here for this. So, Henry, what is your rating?
I'm here for this, but I'm more here for what the future holds for Shadow.
Mm, I like that. I like that. I like that. And I'm gonna steal that. I'm also here for this, but I think it's teetering depends on the day, but I think it goes over to here. I'm here for this. But again, if hopefully if Shadow takes, if he does, takes these notes about some vulnerability, even just a smidge, it can really be like, all right, this is here for this, undoubtedly. Yeah, yeah. But yeah. Anyway, thank you so much for jumping on this review of the Shadow EP Lavish. Here is where I, let the people know what's happening, what you got coming up, etc., etc.
I'm just chilling at the moment. I'm writing, doing stuff for Acclaim week on week, writing the Heat of the Week column. So if you know any fire songs, send them my way, please. Love singing as much as I can, love covering as much as I can, and all I do is sit in this dark room you see me in and listen to music. So please entertain me. I'm alone, but I love tunes.
Aren't we all? Aren't we all just sitting there just without music?
Yeah.
It's just like outside. Okay, no, more music.
Yeah.
More music. Nah, I love that. I love that. And I love the Heat of the Week. So, definitely, keen to always keep seeing that across my timeline each week. But yeah, once again, thank you so much, Henry, for jumping on this review. Um, yeah, Shadow, Lavish. I am Ru, okay, the Culture Black Kid. Do you have anything else you want to add before I close out?
Oh, thank you for having me.
No, of course, of course.
Yeah.
Had to. Once again, Root, aka the Culture Black Kid, Henry Owens, Shatter, Lavish. Catch you next time. Peace.